New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Why, hello there. It's me. Yes, me, Bonnie Gonzalez, your doula for grief. So good afternoon, good morning, good night, good whatever time you're watching this program. Just want you to really just sit back and make this hour for and about you. Grab a cup of tea, a cup of coffee, find a comfy position. And if you want, call a friend and tell them to join as well. And let me know you're watching. Drop a comment in the comment box. Would love to hear from you. A comment or a question. So that's my welcome. And a little bit about me before I get started. I am still Bonnie Gonzalez, and I am a grief coach. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a religious science practitioner and licensed soul collage facilitator. And most importantly, I'm a human being right here on the planet with you at these auspicious times. So again, welcome. And if this is your first time joining me, I just want you to know that you have come to the right place to start your journey from healing from grief. And if you're returning, oh my goodness, welcome. I'm so honored and privileged that we have that relationship, that you trust me to come back every week. So thank you. And just a little bit about loss and grief. I just want to cover that, kind of housekeeping rules. Loss is what leads us into grief. Grief is just the emotional response to a loss. And as you know, we suffer, or maybe you don't know, and let me explain. We suffer a myriad of losses in our lives. And of course, death is the biggest. I always start with that. I honor death. As they say, I bow down to that loss. That is the biggest and most painful loss you will experience in your life. But there's also divorce, loss of relationships, health concerns, about a mutilative surgery, a geographical move, a divorce, even a promotion can be a loss, leaving behind what is known and familiar in your daily life, moving to something else that is unknown. So losses show up in so many ways. And then it is our emotional response to those losses that we term grief, which usually does include sadness, anger, confusion, numbness. All of those are emotional responses to the loss. Loss is what happens to us, and grief is what we feel. So just remembering that it is normal in our lives. And that's a part of what I'm doing here each week, normalizing conversation around grief, allowing grief to be a part of our everyday life. I was with a friend who was just saying that death was the second least talked about topic. That was number two, is the number two thing that we don't talk about. And I was shocked. I've been doing this for a while now. And I said, death? I said, I thought death was number one. She said, no, grief is the number one not talked about subject. People do not share their grief. And, you know, Bell Hooks says it best. We can't heal in isolation. Grief is not something that we can do alone. So I'm just starting the dialogue, getting the interest there, bringing it out of the shadows, and as I say, smack dab into the middle of our lives. And so today, I want to broach grief. As I said, you know, we're not talking about grief, but this is one area that's even more isolated. And here's what our theme today will be is the theme is coping and grieving with adult-child estrangement. That is a really painful and difficult grief to move through. And did you know that the statistics that 27% of the US population suffers estrangement? Can you just wrap your head around that for a minute? 27%. That means there are a lot of us out there suffering with this. And that means you probably know someone who is estranged from their parent or estranged from their child, because it is quite common. The sad part of this is that estrangement is a growing phenomenon right now, encompassing intentional separation from a parent, resulting in grief and loss. When an adult child chooses to estrange themselves from a parent, suffering and emotional turmoil can just be overwhelming. And this type of grief, this type of grieving that loss, can lead to prolonged grief. And prolonged grief was formerly known as complicated grief. And oh gosh, I don't like when the Psychology Association gives timelines for grief. But the timeline here, they quote unquote, and remember, we're all individuals, unique, and grieve in different ways and different timetables. But they feel that prolonged or complicated grief is if you are still grieving and in that deep throes of grief after 6 months, that's a prolonged or complicated grief. So knowing that and knowing that that's just an ideal or a random, let's just say it's an idea that has been put forth because people, our society, do really appreciate timelines and guidelines and those kinds of things. So that's just a guide. Don't feel that, oh, there's something wrong with you if you're still grieving after that point. So with that, I just want to say we're going to delve into this subject today, and it's quite personal for me as well as for my guests. I suffer from or suffer with estrangement from an adult child. So I'm going to move on so that we can have lots of time for this discussion. So today, my guests and I will delve into the intricacies of coping and grieving in the face of adult-child estrangement. And our goal today with this conversation is to provide some insight, some guidance, and steps to navigate this challenging journey. And my guest today is not only a guest, but just a super, super dear and personal, intimate friend. His name is Zoe de Muro. And Zoe, since 1989, has been a part of the health and wellness community in a number of roles as a personal trainer, fitness and performance coach, wellness coach, transformational coach, and a religious science practitioner. and also a host right here on New Thought Media Network. So help me welcome Zoe De Muro to the program. I was going to say, let's give Zoe a round of applause. I'm applauding. We're in this auditorium today and filling it with words of wisdom. So, oh my gosh, again, thank you for your yes, because I know personally how delicate and how sensitive this topic is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before we delve into it, Zoe, you want to tell us a little bit about what you've been doing on the planet before you met here on your Doula for Grief?
Let's see. Well, we'll start 74 years ago. No, we're not going to start 74 years ago.
4 years ago.
So, as Bonnie said, I have been hosting a show on the New Thought Media Network for just about 2 years. Although I just sunsetted the show, we came to a reasonable place to end the show. So I just ended it this past week. The show is called Choice, Your Creative Superpower. And as much as I love that show, it was time for me to move on. I'm also a producer. I produce other people's shows. I'm going to give a plug, as a matter of fact, to this show. Real Talk Sisters.
Oh, okay.
Right?
All right.
Fantastic show. So I am a practitioner. My license is held here on the New Thought Media Network. And as a transformational coach and as a practitioner, my goal is to do one thing and one thing well, and that is to help people live their lives to the fullest. That's what I'm about.
Beautiful, so beautiful. Thank you for that. Thank you. Living life well. So with living life well, let's move into our topic of adult child estrangement. And you want to just give us a little background on how this situation unfolded for you?
Sure. I'm going to be vague about some aspects of it, simply to provide privacy. All right.
Yes.
For my son. He and I had a magnificent relationship when he was a baby and a young boy. But his mother and I divorced. And in that divorce, he felt betrayed, actually. It was interesting. Here's this little boy talking about that, and it really tore me up. Well, over the years, we were able to get through that. We were able to get past that. And then eventually, he came to live with me. So I was I hate this term, custodial parent.
Yeah, but the full-time parent. How's that? How's that? Full-time parent.
And we established a great life again. And then he went off into the Army and had a fantastic career in the Army. But the Army changed him. And over the years, since he's been out of the Army, he has his perspectives on life and mine have gotten so separate, so different, that it became extremely difficult to maintain any kind of a relationship. And then it turned kind of toxic. And I just couldn't find a way in, if you will.
Yes.
No matter what I said, no matter what I did, just didn't seem to make a difference. And so for 2 years, I guess it was a little bit more than 2 years, we had zero contact.
Yes.
Right.
And that's hard. That's hard.
Yeah, extremely hard.
I just want to ask, I think you did speak to that when it initially started. You said that you couldn't find a road in. What were some of the things that you remember trying, if that helps, when you say, I couldn't find a road in?
Well, it was mostly about trying to find some sort of common ground. And even though his viewpoints and mine were so extremely different, so vastly different, what we wanted underneath that were really the same things. You know, and I think that's really a key with anyone that you have a difference with. When you look underneath it, right, odds are at the human level, we want the same things. How we approach them, how we view them, how we value them, that changes.
Exactly.
All right. So I was not able to find that common ground.
I was going to say, as I said when I was introducing, that I too share that estrangement from a daughter. And I know initially when it happened, when you talk about not being able to find a road in, my way was, oh my gosh, let me take gifts over, let me send cards, let me do everything to show you I really love you. And none of it was reciprocated. As you said, I could not find a road in. And for me, I'll use the term that it left me feeling helpless and hopeless. To be able, when I felt my loving efforts would just be just the thing that she needed. And so before I go to that part, so initially when you said you couldn't find a road in, we talked about these 5 stages of estrangement. Is there a place that you could give a name to what you felt initially? Is there a stage, if you want to say, or a word?
Initially, I would say the word was emptiness. There was a huge hole in my life.
Yes.
That I felt physically, viscerally.
That did not. Nothing fills that. No. Nothing fills that void. For me, I was just going to say, I felt a sense of just total despair. Just despair. Like, it just couldn't be. Oh, and I usually don't ever say this in life, why me? Why me? There's, I think it's Les Brown that says, when you ask that question, why me? It's like, well, why not you? Who would you volunteer to have this issue? It's like, and I just felt like it couldn't be me. I mean, this couldn't be happening to me because I was such a loving parent. I did all that I could do at that time of raising her. I mean, I did what I thought was best. I always say, though, we have children at the wrong time in our lives. We have children when we're trying to figure out ourselves and trying to get to know ourselves as we're parenting. So I was just asking that because for me that was what it was despair, and yours was just this emptiness that you talked about. And so from there, though, not that it really matters. Well, maybe it does. How long has it been that you've been estranged from your son?
Let's see. I would say probably about 4 years total. At this point, without getting ahead of our conversation, at this point, I am actually in contact with him now. It's limited, but it's not the total blank that it had been.
And let me ask you this, and I'll ask too, because of having such a close personal understanding of what it's like to be estranged. If you could roll back the times and right before, say, the estrangement began, would there be something that you would have done differently?
Ooh, that's an excellent question.
Yeah, is there something?
Looking back on it, I would say probably not.
Mm-hmm.
right? And I say that because one of the things that is so important to remember when we look at these types of things is that we're dealing with two human beings. We're dealing with two adults. We're dealing with people who both have lives and have families and have experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not ever a one-way street.
Mm.
You know, just as
Yes.
you said, you were pouring out all of this love and all of this care, it's about how it's received. And
Yes.
sometimes people can't receive what you're putting out there. And sometimes what you're putting out there in your mind, in your perspective, it's the thing. It's perfect. It's just so. But the way it's received is not quite the same.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And holding that, when this estrangement began and with the sense of emptiness, how did that affect how you viewed yourself?
Mm.
As a parent, as a man, did that affect how you were viewing yourself?
Well, first of all, I have to go back to earlier in life and say that, unlike yourself, I was at times a miserable parent. Not because I was violent or vicious or anything like that, but I was an alcoholic and an addict during the early part of their lives. And while I did everything that I was capable of to take good care of my children, I know I didn't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So I carried that guilt and shame. And when this occurred, it amplified it. It brought that back. Like, well, you know, if I hadn't been like that earlier in life, would things have been different later in life? You know, and when I look at that now, I would actually say no, because my kids, as much as they saw the alcoholic and the addict, they also saw the recovery.
Yes, they've gotten to experience both.
Yeah, and I've been sober for 43 years now.
Wow. So, again, applause.
So they saw not only the degradation, but they saw the recovery and they saw the continuing recovery. But to get back to your question,
No, you brought up another point that I was not going to bring up, but now I'm going to bring it up because you brought it up.
okay.
Okay. Yes. Oh, no, go ahead if you want to finish a point, and then I will go.
Yeah. So the guilt that I felt with this problem in our lives was intense, extreme. And I have a little sign up on my wall here in my office about self-compassion.
Right.
And it's
self-compassion. Yes.
Yeah. It's probably one of the few things that kept me going through all of this, because it was so depressing. And to feel that this person that is so important in my life and has been so important in my life, my entire life, literally, or virtually, to not have him in my life, it was just intense pain. And all I could think is, I have to fix this.
Exactly. You're taking responsibility for something.
For everything.
Another part. Oh gosh. So, and the reason I asked that question, because this is the part that is so god awful, emotionally painful, devastating, just could destroy a person's self-esteem, is this type of separation, this type of estrangement. It forces the estranger or estrangee, it forces that person into really looking at their own self-worth or self-value. I mean, it just brings it up. It's like, am I worthy? You know, what value do I have? What in the world could I have done that would get someone that I love so much to just shun me, in a sense. So many people take it back on personally. And as you said, you're talking about another adult. And in doing this research and preparing for this program, there was something that came up that you just talked about. So you brought this up when you said, talking about your past history as a recovering alcoholic. And the research shows that people that really suffer really with this a lot more intensely, maybe say others, is that it's those people that have an unacknowledged trauma or injury that predates before the birth of that child. It has never been resolved. Maybe you didn't even realize it, but this severing of the relationship is what brings it up. And it's a good time. Is there ever a good time to have pain brought up? But this is one of those times that really therapy is really vital, really vital. Do you feel that when yes, do you agree with that or disagree? Whatever, whichever, I'll accept both. but as I said, it's an unhealed trauma or injury to the self-esteem, really, that predates this child's birth.
Yep. And I agree with all of that, including the therapy part. I definitely have done therapy and continue to get counseling.
Yes.
And it was actually in doing that I got to understand just how deep this was within me and how it was literally affecting me every single day.
Right. I totally hear that. And I also wanted to bring up that I always say, don't do grief alone. I don't care what grief it is. You just can't do grief alone. But I was going to say that this is one of those griefs that is so internally personal that you really do need to seek outside help to be able to move through it, and to come back to yourself, to come back to come back to yourself, to come home to yourself. I'm one of those people, I don't know if the Enneagram is something that you resonate to or feel about, but I feel into, but I'm a 2 on the Enneagram. And the reason I resonate to that so much is because that is the caretaker characteristic, taking care of everyone. That's how I, as a child, attachment theories, got my needs met, is by taking care of everybody else. So when my estrangement happened with my daughter, that ripped to shreds what I saw myself as a loving caregiver, somebody that takes care of everybody. And mine was like, wow, if you're such a caregiver, how can this happen? If that's true, how could this have happened? And so I'll ask you, did you feel any shame around your estrangement with your son?
Tons. Plain and simple, tons. And it's interesting because I would have thought that, not that I'm the only parent that went through this, but I'm an outlier. Like, most parents are fine with their kids and the kids are fine with their parents and everything is wonderful and rosy and sweet. And I have discovered over the past several years just how many people I know who have dealt with the exact same thing.
Yes.
And number of people who are very well grounded in their spiritual practice and still deal with it.
Right. And the reason I bring up the shame issue, because if you're shamed, you're less likely to talk about this, less likely to even seek out help. And that's why I want those that are watching to know that it is okay if you feel that shame, but don't let that stop you from getting the help that you need. I myself personally, I don't even tell people that I'm estranged from my daughter. One time it came up in a conversation and the person said, this is what they said. They said, oh, but you look like such a nice person. It's like, oh, well, I know. And for some reason that just kind of, what do I want to say? Shut me down in my tracks right there. It's like, oh my gosh, then I'm again being judged. I've already judged me as being some just, I don't want to say horrible because self-deprecation is not where I'm going, but I felt less than good already. I already felt like I was somehow flawed in some sense as being a loving parent. So when that person said that, it only kind of reinforced probably what I was already feeling, that I felt somehow flawed. And so with that, I say that's more of the reason to reach out for help. Mm-hmm. And so going forward after the emptiness, what did anything replace that emptiness? And was there anything that you did that moved the needle a little bit further?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And I would say that what it really came down to was the phrase, and what is mine to do?
Oh.
All right. I had been through so many different changes in the relationship with my kids because of all these different circumstances over the years. And I could not accept that there was nothing that I could do. I just could not accept that. Mm-hmm. And I remember working with a counselor, and she asked me, she said, do you love your son? I said, of course I do. I love him with all my heart. There's no question. And she said, well, then there's hope.
That's sweet.
She said, I'm not telling you that there's hope that everything's going to be wonderful, but I'm telling you that there is hope that you can have a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Great. Well, oh gosh, yes, there was, I love that. And what I was told and what helped somewhat in psychotherapy was that that kind of the same thing, always leaving the door open for her, always letting her know that I love her, which leaves the door open. But then, Zoe, I had this thought as well, and I'll be very candid. I was like, how can I let somebody know that I love them that has hurt me so badly, that has just trampled on my heart? How can I leave a door open for love? And that was my work to do. And it wasn't easy, but that was my work to do. And in leaving that door open for me is what gave hope, is what gives me hope, knowing that door is always open. And also, what is unconditional love but leaving that door open when you've been hurt or trampled or felt? That's how I felt at that time, and that was an issue to move through. Was there any other? I'm just going to take a breath for a minute and just feeling into that of leaving the door open, filled with hope. And is there any other solace or any other thing that brought you comfort during that
time? I was doing a course on forgiveness, taking this course. And I was under the impression that I was taking this course because there was someone I needed to forgive.
Yes, I love that. That has gotten a lot of people to sign up for courses.
And in the course of the course, I discovered that I was the one that I had to forgive. I had to be more gentle with myself. I needed to look at and see the reality of what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to just say, all right, you did what you were capable of doing,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Exactly.
Now you're capable of more.
Mm-hmm. Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
All right.
So that forgiveness started with Zoe.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And you know, it's interesting, Bonnie, because I don't feel a need at this point, and the circumstances for me are different from the circumstances for you, but for me, I don't feel a need that I need to forgive my son. I don't feel that. I
Mm.
do feel that, yeah, there were certainly problems, there's no question, but I don't feel that he did anything. How do I phrase this? He didn't do anything wrong to me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good point.
All right.
Good point. Yeah.
If anything, I feel that the harm that he's done is more to himself.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. I love that you say that. In all of the turmoil, heartbreak, and moving through, and now I feel that I'm accepting. I always felt the pain that my daughter must be feeling, to have to know that someone loves you but not to be able to be with them. So I always sent those prayers for her to be at peace, to internally to be at peace. And if there were forgiveness, it's forgiving myself, not even forgiving myself. What is the word that I'm looking for? I'm not feeling like it's my fault, quote unquote, my fault. If I had just had a magic potion and slipped a magic pill in there, this wouldn't have happened. It's like, no, it's like this is a person who is trying to take care of themselves in the best way that they know how at that moment, at that time. This is the best way for them to take care of themselves. So I've come to respect that. I've come to respect that that is her way of honoring herself or taking care of herself. And maybe it's a second. I see we have some comments. And from our dear sister Peggy. She loves the show. Thank you, Peggy. And the Real Talk Sisters sounds interesting and engaging. So check it out. It's on Tuesdays, I believe. We'll give an update on that at the end. But I do love what Peggy says here. Loving boundlessly is always an open door. Yes, that is. As we say in our philosophy here, that love is the greatest power. That love is the greatest power of all. So I thank Peggy for sharing that. I was just going to look because there was the other part of those 5 stages of in estrangement called transformation. I just wanted to speak to that with you. So do you feel that this estrangement, as painful as it is, oh gosh, has transformed you in a certain
way? I would say that the way that it has transformed me is to focus so much more on self-forgiveness, plain and simple.
Mm-hmm.
Carrying around guilt and shame is a burden that will just wears you out.
I say it erodes your soul. It erodes your soul.
Yep, that it does.
So that has led you to be, it sounds like a more loving and gentle and kind to Zoe.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. And being able to do that enabled me to say, all right, I have value, I have worth, I have the ability to be a good father. So let's do some exploration. Let's see, how do we make that happen?
Exactly. And I was going to say, for me, so the other part of that, of transforming, if it's transformation, but to understand that I can't fix anyone. Because that's where I was in the beginning. I can fix this. I can make this better. I can make her love me again. I can make her want to be with me again if I just do all these, laundry list of things. And it's like, there is no fixing. Neither one of us are broken. Neither one of us are broken. So there's no fixing. And I was going to say, I don't want to get too personal, but has this shifted your thoughts about your son, or how you see? Yeah, I'll just ask it. How has this shifted how you see your son?
Yeah, it definitely has shifted, and it shifted after the counselor that I was working with said, all right, so you've told me that you love your son. Have you contacted him in any way? Have you told him that you love him?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, not for a very long time. And I don't know that he would accept it. And she said, you're right, you don't know.
Right.
I said, but have you tried? And I said, no, I really don't even know how I would go about doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, oh, seriously? Come on. There's the telephone and there's text. And she said, but you know what I want you to do is I want you to write a letter.
Mm.
And she said, and this isn't going to be one of those letters that you write and then you burn it or, whatever.
Right.
You're gonna write a letter and you're going to mail it to him.
Wow.
And what you're going to say in that letter is, said, well, I'm not going to tell you what to say. I'm going to tell you what not to say. And what not to say is, don't ask for anything.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Tell him how you feel.
Mm. Yes.
So I wrote this letter, and which basically said, love you, always have loved you. I will never stop loving you.
Yes.
I know we have differences, and I don't know how to get past those differences.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know, despite that, I still want to have this relationship.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And that was really about all that went into that letter. And I sent it off, and I never expected to get a response.
Mm. Wow. You have no expectation. You have no expectation.
Right. And that was another part of it.
Key.
You cannot have any expectation.
Exactly. Yes, I remember saying to my sister that I wanted to send a text to my daughter. And she goes, why? She's not going to return, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, I know. But then it made me stop and think, oh, wow, I really am writing it because I want a response. I really want to hear back. But I went ahead and I sent it anyway, but I released the expectation that I just wanted her to know where I was feeling, and it was feelings of love in that moment. It did not need a response. And also, I love when you said that your therapist said, don't ask for anything. Anyway, the idea is that don't ask for forgiveness in these situations. You apologize. because then again, you're asking them to put their feelings aside to make you feel better by forgiving you. And that is not effective. That's just not effective. So just remember that, offer apology, but not asking for for forgiveness, even though we think that's the way. But in these circumstances, it's a different set of circumstances right now. So because we are talking about adults, it's not like when they were 3, you said, go put your shoes on. They go, I don't want to. And it's like, why do I have to put them on? And you can say, because I told you to put them on. We're not there now. If anything, the role is reversed, that we have to sit and be with our feelings until they work through and can reach out. The ball, I was telling someone, the ball is in their court. The ball is in the adult child's court. And I'm not saying, the 3 biggest reasons for estrangement are abuse, betrayal, and poor parenting. And so sometimes those things just have to be addressed if they are part of the situation. That needs to be addressed as well. And we've got some more comments from our lovely, dear sister, Peggy. The first one is, she says, oh, my child's road turns, here we go. My child's road turns corners to neighborhoods my path never took. Wow. Okay, thank you, Peggy. And she also says, repeat loving your child in every way without wanting anything back is the challenge to real trust. I so appreciate that. I so appreciate that. And the final comment is, I'm working through similarities with my mom. I didn't have children, but now I do. That is such a truth. Those tables do turn. They really, really do. And just knowing that we're holding you as you move through this, Peggy, with just the highest light. Mm-hmm. Because it is a truly, truly tumultuous and just painful situation to go through, but you can move through it. You can. And so I just wanted to bring up some ways of, I don't want to rush us along, but our time is moving. It seems like it's going faster than I anticipated. But I was going to do this alone, but maybe we can just use them both as talking points to kind of tie up our time for right now. And I really feel as though that this is a more than a 1 hour, 45-minute topic. And so I'd love to revisit it with you. Just ideas and ways of moving forward, because both Zoe and I have talked about the emotional toll that it takes on you and how it can, be turned to use against yourself and eroding your own self-esteem. But we're preventing that. We're preventing that right now. So the road with moving forward is, the first one is just processing your emotions. Give attention to your feelings. Remember to move forward, you need to move through. And so it sounds like you have definitely processed your emotions with getting help. Or also, do you have a community that supports you in any way? Or another friend who's gone through anything like this? It doesn't have to be, but sometimes those are just things that can help when you're processing your emotions. Talking to someone else who has an estranged child can be very.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, yes, I do know a number of people in the same situation.
Unfortunately, yes.
Each of us for very different reasons.
Right. In my Buddhist practice, they would always say, whatever difficulty or challenge you're going through right now, you're going through that because one day you'll be able to support someone else who's going through that very same challenge. So I always remember that. And number 2 is to be informed. Resources, as I said, I think I said this in the beginning, that that 27% of U.S. Families are estranged, have estranged family members, 27%. So the chances of you knowing someone is quite high. And I would like to offer a really great book that can be so insightful, and it's by Josh Coleman, Coleman, and he's in the Bay Area from Marin. And the title of his book is When Parents Hurt. When Parents Hurt. Because I'd like for us maybe next time, so talking about conversations when you are ready to engage with an estranged child. When they've said yes, what do you do? That can be very tricky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, and so I find this point to be very important. Being around people that love and value you. Being around people that love and value. So,
there's an interesting thing that goes with that. And that is, it's very easy to get caught up in this thing where you sit down and you start talking about what's going on, and it becomes a, how do I express this? It becomes all about the problem and nothing about the solution.
Yes.
When you were talking earlier about complicated grief, for example, around this, there's another way to look at that besides the timing factor, and that is the effect that it has on your life. If you find yourself to be so wrapped up in it that your everyday life isn't going to happen, that everything that you think about is focused on that is complicated grief.
And that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Zoe. Go ahead.
All right, to my way of thinking, and getting together with people who are going through something similar, if all you talk about is the problem, right? What you're feeding the universe is nothing affirmative at all. All right.
Yes.
But being able to speak of hope, being able to speak of possibilities, being able to speak of openness, forgiveness, right? Having all of that involved as well, that makes that connection far more valuable.
And thank you for saying that. So, because when you said that, if that's all you're thinking about, this is what happens with this prolonged or complicated grief. There's rumination that's going on and on. You're ruminating on what happened, ruminating. You're yearning, because that's a big part of grief, is that yearning, that you're yearning to be with that person you want to be. And that's why you need, it's so important to really break that cycle mentally. And these are some of the things to help you break that cycle. And don't isolate, that's it. Being around people that love, and you have good time as well, because this is not, you have a whole life. This is a part, I felt like a big hole blown through my heart, but I still have a wonderful, beautiful, just a life that I'm enjoying. So the other one is journal your feelings. It's important to get them out. And if you're not one that journals, I know that Zoe loves trails and walking and hiking, and that's another way to let it physically move through. There's walking meditations that you can do to get in touch with feelings. But just try journaling. It's a noisy street, but try journaling to get those feelings out on paper. And this one is really important. It's looking forward. Your life has meaning and purpose. You are worthy of having a really wonderful life. You are worthy of having a wonderful life. So moving into things that you enjoy doing. Because when we sit with the rumination, we just really get into a state of inertia. And you can forget that you even have a life to move through, that you have a life to move through. And the last, and you touched on this, was forgiveness. I just added that in, forgiveness. And forgiveness starting with yourself, knowing that you've done the best that you could under the circumstances, given the circumstances. And finally, as you said, Zoe, acceptance and hope. Acceptance and hope. So I think we have come almost to the end of our time, and I just thank you so much, Zoe, for for sharing something so deeply personal, allowing yourself to be seen here today. And I want you to know I am honored. I feel honored that you have said yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So maybe we'll both take a collective deep breath. And blow it out and know that we have wonderful lives to live. And this is the part that we're going to talk about what wonderful things Zoe de Muro is doing in the world. Yes, Zoe, take it away. And Zoe it is.
Okay. So what I have coming up on the New Thought Media Network is I'm going to be doing an interview show starting in June. Let me bring this up.
Yes.
It is. Okay, it's called And So It Is. Stories of Truth, Transformation, and Triumph. All right. Thinking about what we were just talking about. All right. And how we want to be able to move through these difficulties. We want to be able to take them and we want to use them, not throw them away, but we want to use them to move forward.
Right.
There are so many things in so many of our lives that just bring us down so low. And the reality of it is that comes from falsehoods, false beliefs, false, a lack of understanding, jeopardizing your own worth. All right. So being able to get to the point of truth enables you to transform your life, enables you to bring out into the world that which is so important, and to have that triumph. And so I'm going to be interviewing people who have gone through all different types of transformations.
Yes.
Right? Taking them from the falsehood to that triumph. All right. By way of truth and transformation.
Wow. So, and do we have a date that we're going to debut?
Saturday, June 1st. I'm not certain about the time. I think it's going to be 10 a.m. on Saturdays. It's going to be once a month, first Saturday of the month. So it'll be easy to remember.
First Saturday. Okay. And we will stay tuned to seeing you on June 1st. We don't know what time, but we know we will see you. Oh, and also Peggy had said she wanted to, she was interested in Real Talk Sisters. And what time is Real Talk Sisters on?
Real Talk Sisters is on Tuesdays at 12 noon Pacific. That would be 1 p.m. Mountain Time.
Okay, yeah, 2 hours behind. Yeah, two hours behind Eastern Standard Time. Yeah, I'm crazy down here in Mexico with my time zones because we didn't change it. So every time I need to do something, I have to stop to make sure, even the show, to make sure I'm on schedule. So thank you so very much. And I just know that you're doing great work in the world, and just honoring you in doing that, and knowing that I am here to support you, whatever it is that I can support you, and however I can support you. Know that I'm here for you.
Likewise.
Yes. And our sweet Peggy has been just really joining the conversation. So I want to send love to Peggy as well. She says, yes, thank you. Hugs to you both. So, we're sending you a big hug, Peggy. And with this, I'd just like to close my show the way I usually do. I want you to just take a deep breath, and I want you to just go to the mirror. I want you to look yourself in the eye and say, what do I need today? What do I need today? Whatever comes up, honor it. You are worthy of what is being asked for. And I also like to add that you could add, what does my soul want me to know today? What does my soul want me to know today? So with that, I just say thank you and namaste.
Namaste.
Next time. Thank you so.
My pleasure.